The next 3 minutes of this video might save you $65,000 on your next home purchase, like watching a ticking time bomb in BC's real estate market. The proposed GST elimination on new homes is creating clear winners and losers that few see coming. While everyone's focused on buyers' savings, this tax change is dramatically altering the competition between new builds and resales across Surrey, White Rock, and Vancouver. Resale home sellers face a significant disadvantage that could drop their property values overnight. Want to avoid making a costly mistake in the shifting market? Let me explain exactly how this situation will play out.
You only get one chance to buy or sell your next home. Let's get it right.
You know what's happening right now? Buyers across BC have almost entirely disappeared from the market for some time now, but this most recent GST announcement is going to make things even worse. And let me explain why. If you haven't seen the news lately, both major political leaders running to be your next prime minister recently promised to eliminate the 5% GST tax on brand new homes. In a real estate market that's already struggling for a sign of life, smart buyers in the sweet spot of price point have hit the pause button. I'm seeing this play out in real time across Surrey and White Rock. Potential buyers who were ready to sign on the dotted line are now waiting. Think about it. If you're looking at a brand new $1 million townhome in Clayton Heights, waiting a few months could potentially save you $50,000 in GST. That's more than many people earn in an entire year. And for most families, that kind of money makes a massive difference. It could cover new furniture, landscaping, or simply reduce your mortgage by a significant amount. The market was already cooling before this announcement. Interest rates have kept many buyers cautious, with sales volumes down compared to previous years. Now, we're seeing a genuine freeze forming. Just last week, I toured 3 different properties in South Surrey that would normally have sold almost immediately. And the selling agents told me that they hadn't had a single showing request in days. This buyer hesitation directly impacts the entire housing ecosystem. Developers have been hitting the brakes on launching new projects for months already, but those ready to come to market face a critical question. Why market a new development property when potential buyers immediately calculate that waiting could save them tens of thousands of dollars? Housing starts in BC dropped 9% last year, despite government efforts to increase supply. And this uncertainty will only worsen construction slowdowns. What makes this situation so precarious is the timing of it. When one of these politicians wins and follows through with eliminating the GST, how long will implementation take? Will it be retroactive? And what if the promise gets watered down in parliamentary committees? These uncertainties add another layer of hesitation for buyers that are already on the fence. For developers, the calculations become even more complicated. Many projects in Surrey and across the BC Lower Mainland were already on the edge of profitability due to high construction costs and financing challenges. This unexpected announcement adds yet another variable. Do they push forward with current pricing, knowing that buyers might wait? Do they adjust pricing to account for future tax changes? Many will simply choose to wait it out. This market freeze isn't hitting all the properties equally. The highest impact is on new construction that's currently for sale or nearly complete. The secondary impact might be even more devastating for resale properties priced near current new unit prices, homes that directly compete with the new builds, especially those built in the last 1 to 5 years in areas with ongoing development. In neighborhoods like Grandview Heights or Clayton, where resale and new construction happen side by side, sellers of a 1 to 5 year old property face a serious challenge, potentially having to drop their prices when selling to remain competitive against these new builds that might soon come with a significant tax advantage. For buyers currently in this market, this creates a genuine dilemma. Do you push forward with the purchase knowing that you might miss out on significant tax savings? Or do you put your life on hold for months based on a political promise that may or may not materialize? There's no easy answer, especially for families who need to move for work, schools, or other circumstances. Beyond the buyer's dilemma, there's a fundamental imbalance brewing that could reshape entire neighborhoods. When government policy creates an uneven playing field, everyday homeowners often pay the price. Here's what most people don't realize. In British Columbia, new construction already enjoys a significant tax advantage. Newly built homes valued under 1.1 million are completely exempt from property transfer tax. Adding GST removal to this existing advantage would create a 7 to 8% price gap between new builds and resale homes solely because of government policy. This would be like walking into a store where identical products have drastically different prices with one mysteriously labeled tax-free. Let me walk you through a real-world example. Imagine you're looking at two nearly identical homes in Clayton Heights, both three-bedroom townhomes priced at $950,000. The resale property carries approximately $19,000 in property transfer tax. Meanwhile, the new build has zero property transfer tax, and with this proposed change, would have no GST either. That's a combined tax advantage approaching $65,000, enough to completely furnish the home, cover closing costs, and still fund a family vacation. For homeowners planning to sell, this creates an impossible situation. How do you compete with an identical property down the street that has a massive government granted price advantage? The only realistic option is dropping your asking price, potentially wiping out years of carefully built equity overnight. This competitive imbalance will hit the hardest in communities where new developments stand directly beside existing homes. In areas like Clayton Heights, Wally, and South Surrey, buyers can tour two similar properties in the same afternoon and find one that costs $65,000 less in taxes while being brand new. This choice becomes painfully obvious. Historical data from similar market interventions shows that when government policies create uneven advantages between comparable properties, the disadvantaged segment typically sees price adjustments of about 5 to 10%. That represents thousands of families potentially losing significant portions of their home equity through no fault of their own. The most vulnerable are those in areas with aging housing stock near active development zones. If you own a 10 to 15-year-old home in Grandview, South Surrey, or parts of Fleetwood, where new construction is happening nearby, your property could face tremendous downward price pressure just to remain competitive when you're selling. This situation essentially creates a class system in real estate based solely on property age, rather than things like quality, location, or traditional value factors. A well-maintained, upgraded resale home with excellent finishes would still find itself at a disadvantage against a basically new build simply because of tax policy. For families who've invested years in maintaining and improving their homes, this feels deeply unfair. You spend time and money on quality renovations and property maintenance only to discover government policy forces you to slash your asking price by 5 to 8% just to compete with new construction that might actually offer less quality or smaller lot sizes. The ripple effects extend beyond individual sellers though. Entire neighborhoods could see property values reset downward as resale homes adjust prices to remain competitive. This affects everyone's property assessments, equity positions, and even the neighborhood's overall investment appeal. For current buyers, this creates a complex calculation. The tax savings on new builds might seem advantageous, but they need to weigh those savings against potential quality differences, lot sizes, and established neighborhood benefits that come with resale properties. On paper, cutting GST sounds like a spark we need to fire up housing starts, and it's admirable. It's something that is so great for home buyers. But here's the truth that most politicians won't admit. GST isn't the real reason developers aren't building. The problem isn't just taxes, it's math. Construction costs in Surrey have jumped over 30% in the last few years, and interest rates on development loans have more than doubled since the pandemic. That's like trying to build a house on quicksand. Even with a tax break, the numbers often just don't work. Jay Minhas from Elegant Developing said it best. It takes 2 to 3 years from buying land to start construction. So even if this policy passes, you're still years away from seeing new homes hit the market. And don't forget financing. Banks aren't exactly handing out development loans like candy right now. Lending is tight, risk is high, and smaller builders, the ones who typically create entry-level homes, are sitting on the sidelines. I walked through a stalled project in South Surrey just last week. Machinery is parked. The crews are gone. The developer showed me the numbers they'd still lose money unless home prices shoot up or costs dramatically drop. Neither is happening anytime soon. Now, could GST removal help some projects move forward? Sure, but only at specific price points. Think condos and townhomes under 800,000. The segment where buyer demand is strong and the tax break might just help tip the scales. But this isn't a wave of new housing, it's a trickle. Expect a few projects to launch in areas where the math barely works, maybe parts of Fleetwood or Newton, where land is cheaper and density is higher. But don't expect a construction boom in South Surrey or Wally overnight. Here's the takeaway. GST relief helps buyers, but it doesn't solve the deeper problems keeping developers frozen. And if you're hoping this policy will flood the market with new homes and push prices down across the board, don't hold your breath. The GST removal creates clear winners and losers in BC's real estate market. If you're looking at new construction in neighborhoods like Clayton or Grandview Heights, you could find yourself in an advantageous position. These areas already are bustling with development activity, and they stand to benefit significantly from the proposed tax changes. But timing is everything. If you're selling a resale property or can't wait for this policy to materialize, you'll just need to adjust your expectations and pricing strategy. For anyone planning to buy or sell in Surrey this year, these changes demand immediate attention. The smart players in the market are already positioning themselves, recognizing that understanding policy shifts reveals opportunities others miss. Will you ride the wave of these market changes, or will you be left in its wake? Your decision today shapes your financial outcome for tomorrow. And there's so much more to this story that you need to know. Government policy can shape entire real estate markets, just like the policy change that happened last year that I discussed in this video coming up next. That's going to have one of the most monumental outcomes on how our neighborhoods look and function in the future. This video created a lot of controversy, and it's certainly one that you don't want to miss. So I'll see you over on it right now, coming up next. The residents of this neighborhood don't know it yet, but this neighborhood is going to be completely upended over the coming years about new zoning regulations that are taking effect all across British Columbia.